Hello, students. You are welcome to another session of online facilitation for Bio 192, Practical Biology 2. And this time we are to consider the spermatophytes, which is in the kingdom of plant. Last week we started the discussion on the plant kingdom, and we have looked at the lower plants. And this time around, we are going to look at the higher plants. And the higher plant we are going to start with is the spermatophyte. The spermatophytes are the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. They are green plants and able to carry out photosynthesis. They exhibit an alternation of generation in their life cycle. That is, they have two cycles that alternate with one another. And in this alternation of generation, we have the gametophyte that usually alternate with the sporophyte. The spermatophyte usually produce flowers and seed in the spermatophytes, and they are seed plants, and they do not move from place to place. There are two divisions of this group of spermatophytes, and the two groups are the gymnosperm or the gymnospermae and the angiospermae. We look at the division gymnospermae. This particular division are seed plants, and they produce naked seed. That is, their seed are not produced in any enclosed structures. Most members are extinct. That is, they are no more living. Majority of them are no more in existence. So, but normally what we do at times, we study the past members through the fossil that are obtained as a fossil material. So the extinct members have no living representative at all. The typical examples of the gymnosperms are the pinus, the cycas, and the netum. Then what are some of the features that are peculiar to the gymnosperms? That is, they have some diagnostic features that we use to recognize the members of gymnosperms. And one of the diagnostic features is for the fact that their seed are produced nakedly. That is, the seed are not produced in any enclosed structures, like in the case of angiosperm, that their seed are enclosed in an ovary. So the seed are born on the cone leaves. They are needle-like structures on which the seed are born. Then there are archegonia, which is present with the eggs. And the germination of this particular group are usually very short. Within the short period, they carry out germination. So they have single fertilization in them, unlike in the angiosperm that have double fertilization. When we get to that angiosperm, we will see what is double fertilization. But in the gymnosperms, we have only single fertilization. Then grouping them or classifying the angiosperm into various groups. And basically, we classify angiosperm into three main groups. And the three groups are the Cycadopsida, and an example is Cycas. We have the Coniferopsida, example is Pinus. And we have the highest members, which is the Neptopsida, and the typical example is Netum. This Netum in the Igbo land is what we call Okasi. It's a good vegetable in Igbo land. So this is a cycas plant, which is a typical example of the gymnosperm. And this cycas is very primitive. It's a primitive plant, and it looks like a palm tree, as you can see the structure on the right hand side. So they look like palm tree, but what differentiates them from the palm tree is that they do not grow tall like palm tree. They have a very stout structure. As you can see their structure, they do not grow tall at all. Then this is a typical example of the Colenopsida, which is a pinus. And this one is called whistling pine. that is the pinus is called whistling pine. It can grow tall to as high as about 40 meters or more in height. Their wood is what we refer to as softwood, which is used in furniture making. Then the highest members of this gymnosperms is the netum. You can see the structure on the right hand side. So it is the most advanced member of gymnosperms, and they resemble angiosperm in their structure. We have divisions under the angiosperm also, as we have seen in that of the gymnosperms. So the members of the group of angiosperm bear flowers and produce seed at one time or the other in their lifetime. So there are some that produce flower and seed once in their lifetime. There are some that produce flowers or seed even twice in a year or 3 times in a year, and so on and so forth. But they must produce flower and seed at one time or the other throughout their lifetime. So their seed are produced in an enclosed structure, and that enclosed structure is called the ovary in the flower. They are also called the flowering plants. The angiosperm is called the flowering plants, and they have been able to successfully adapt to life on land. In fact, they are the group of plants that fully colonize the terrestrial environment. And because of their structures, because of their features, which we are going to see later. Examples of the angiosperms are orange, mango, banana, papaya, flamboyant, baobab tree, grasses, and so on and so forth. These are the typical examples which are common in our environment. Then, how do we recognize? What are some of the features that we use to recognize the members of the angiosperms? As we have said, or as I have said, they have enclosed or covered seeds. Their seeds are enclosed. In fact, their seeds are developed in the ovary. The ovules are fertilized and they develop into seeds. Their seeds are covered by the flower or a fruit, and they do not have archegonium in them. The germination in angiosperm is long, although depend on the type. There are some within 5 days they will germinate. There are some even 3 years they will not germinate. So, and the angiosperm have double fertilization. That is, they have what we call 3N structure. So, because during the double fertilization, one nucleus will fertilize the ovule, another one will fertilize the endosperm, and then the other one will fertilize. And that is during the fertilization, that's what we call 3N. So the triploids, that is the zygote, is a triploid in nature, and that is why we say it is 3N structure. Then their physical appearance, that is the morphology of angiosperms. So angiosperm body is divided into root, stem, and shoot system. And these organs are connected by the tissue called vascular tissues. And these vascular tissues is continuous throughout the plant. And the root system of the dicot consists of a taproot and a several lateral roots, unlike in the case of the monocot, which we are still going to see as we talk about the classes of the angiosperms. The shoot consists of stems, the leaves, and the flowers. The stem is the one that carry above the ground the leaves and the flowers. The leaves, of course, are the one that carry out photosynthesis, and then the flowers, of course, is for the reproduction in the angiosperm. Then we have what we call the blade in the leaf, and it is this blade that is the expanded portion of a leaf. It is attached to the stem by a structure called petiole. It is the petiole that attaches the leaf to the stem. Then we have what we call nodes that is found in the angiosperm. And this node is the region of a stem where leaves attach to the stem, and they are usually separated by what we call internodes. Internode is the space between two nodes in the angiosperms. And then at a shoot tip is the terminal bud, and then the terminal bud is the main growing point of the plant in the angiosperms. Classification of the angiosperms. There are two classes of angiosperms, and the two classes are the monocotyledonae and the dicotyledonae. These are the two classes of angiosperms. When we talk about monocotyledonae, they are the group of plants that have only one seed leaf. Monocot is what we call them. And examples of the monocotyledonae include the banana. The scientific name is Musa. We have the palm tree. The scientific name is Elias guinensis. Then we have the lemongrasses, and the scientific name is Cibocogum. They are examples of the monocot plant. As you can see them on the right hand side of this land, we have the banana there, we have the palm tree with the seed, and then the grasses, which is the lemongrass. Then the dicotyledonae, that is the dicot plants. This includes the citrus, orange. Orange is an example of a dicot plant. Then we also have another example, such as a granite Arachis species. These are examples of dicot. We have many other examples of dicot plants. What are the adaptive features of angiosperm? That is, what are the structures or the features that enable them to live successfully on land? Since we said they are the group of plants that fully colonize the terrestrial environment, so they are found almost everywhere. So they have been fully emancipated. They can carry out all their activities without being present in the water, in the water environment, although water is required for their growth and development. So angiosperm are the group of plants that successfully live on land, and they have many features that enable them to adapt to life on land. And the features that enable them to adapt to life on land include: one, they have a waxy cuticle. That is one of the structures that enable them to adapt to their life on land. Two, they have surface pore, which we call stomata. These stomata are found on the leaves, and it is the stomata that enable them to exchange gases. Exchange of gases in plant takes place through the stomata. Three, they possess efficient vascular system, as we have talked about the vascular system before. And this vascular system consists of xylem and phloem, and they are conducting tissues in the angiosperm. So the tissue are for the transport of water and mineral salts from the soil. So this xylem and phloem are responsible for transportation of material in plant. And they are also for translocation of manufactured food. The xylem is the one that conducts water from the ground to the different parts of the plant, while the phloem conducts the food that is manufactured in the leaves and distribute to all parts of the plant, even to the root. So they are also for reproduction, where they have efficient reproductive structure, which are usually protected or covered or enclosed. As I've mentioned it before, that in the angiosperm they have enclosed seeds. So it is one of the features that enable them to adapt to their life on terrestrial environment. 5, they are able to retain their embryonic sporophyte within the female gametophyte. So that is one of the features that adapt them to their life. And number 6, many of their flowers are designed to attract pollinators, agents of pollinators, then like insects, even human beings, then birds and other animals. So it is because, and then at times when you see flower that is very beautiful, it attracts you, you plug it, either because of the scent or because of the color. So because of this, the way their flowers are designed, they attract the agent of pollinators. And pollinators are those that carry the pollen grains from one plant to the other. So we have an example of such design, which include the presence of color. It is the color that attracts organisms. Then they have nectar, some of them have nectars, on which the agent of pollinator feed on, particularly insect. Then the fragrances, that is the smell, so that are used in the production of perfumes in most cases. Their fruit also are often designed to aid in the dispersal of their seeds. There are some seeds that can be dispersed either by animals, by attaching to the body of animals that visit the plant, or that's what we call mechanical explosive, which scatter the seed away from the parent plant, and that is what we call dispersal of seed or fruit. So that is the end of the kingdom plantae, and we are going to have some activities at this point. And these activities we are going to have is that you should observe some of these plants in your environment. If you have opportunity or during the practical class, just observe them. Then such plants include the water leaf. We have the cedar acuta, maize, onion, pineapple, ginger, sugarcane, banana, elephant grass, lemongrass, cocoyam, okra, orange, euphorbia, tridus, cassia, and acacia. These are some of the common plants around us. If you have all these plants, or based on the list that we have now, try to classify them into what they belong to. So, to which class of angiosperm do this plant belong to? Are they angiosperm? Are they dicot or monocot? Classify all these plants into either monocot or dicot. So that is the activities. They will help you. I'm sure most of these plants are known to us, except maybe few that may not know. Water leaf is common. Cedar acuta is on the field. You see, cedar acuta also is a common plant. Maize, of course. Onion, of course, a vegetable. Pineapple, ginger, sugarcane, banana, elephant grass. The lemongrass is common to cocoyam, okra, orange, euphorbia. Because of the scientific name, you may not know it. The tridus is common. We call it Tridus cucumbens, which I'm sure you are familiar with in your secondary school day. Then cassia and acacia. So we have them. So please just make sure you classify them into which classes of angiosperm. Then now, we now go into animal kingdom. We have completed discussion on the plant kingdom. So we now want to discuss about the animal kingdom. And the animal kingdom is the sixth kingdom of living things. And the kingdom contains the highest number of phylum and individuals in the living organisms. They are all animals at various levels of complexity. We have some that are very complex. We have some that are very simple. We have some that are unicellular. Some are multicellular, as we have found also in the case of the plant kingdom, where we have some plants that are unicellular and some are multicellular. Some are simple, some are very complex. And then the level of complexity range from the simple multicellular one to the complex ones. In the animal kingdom, what are some of the diagnostic features? They are all eukaryotes, and their cells do not have cell walls at all. So that is one of the differences between animal and plant. In the animal cell, we have cell wall, which we said they are rigid and they have a definite shape because of the cellulose cell wall that is present in plant. But in animal, we do not have a cell wall. Rather, we have what we call cell membrane. And all animals, majority of them are multicellular, except all those one like the amoeba and so on, they are unicellular or the paramecium. So, but of course, they are not really classified under the animal kingdom. They belong to the group that we call protists. So the animals are heterotrophs, and they do not have the pigment that can enable them carry out photosynthesis. So such pigment as chloroplast can only be found in plant kingdom. They are not found in animal kingdom. So, and most of the animals are sessile. That is, they spend most of their lives in one place. So they do not move like some other animals that move from place to place. So they are very sessile in their characters. So animals are motile, and meaning that they can move their whole body from place to place, unlike plants. So the plants are stationary, they only move part of their body. They do not move from place to place, as in the case of animals. Any day you see plants moving and running, that is a miracle, and you yourself you have to run, because it's very unusual for plants to start moving from one place to the other. Classification of animal kingdom. In the animal kingdom, there are 10 phyla that we are going to look at, we are going to consider. And the phyla that we are going to consider in animal kingdom include the phylum Purifera, the phylum Cnidaria, the phylum Platyhelminth, the plant Rutifera, the phylum Nematoda, the phylum Annelida, the phylum Arthropoda, the phylum Mollusca, phylum Echinodermata, phylum Chordata, which is the highest phylum. So, and this list above, or that is all these phylum are arranged on the basis of their increasing complexity and developmental advancement. That is from the simplest form to the most complex ones. We start with the phylum Purifera. This phylum is otherwise known as the sponges, and the name means the pore bearing, that is, they are the animals phylum that bear pore on them, and they are aquatic animals found in water. Almost all of them are marine animals, that is, they are found in marine habitat. And then when we talk about marine habitat, we are talking about salty environment or salty water. Then the sponges are the simplest form of multicellular animals. They are the simplest form. So, and they are very diverse and come in a wide variety of colors. You can find them in different colors, different shapes, and different structural complexities are found in this particular group of animals. So their walls are lined with many small pores called ostia. That is, since we say they are pore-bearing animals, so all their body are lined with pores, and the pores are called ostia in the Purifera. So the ostia allow water to flow into their body. It is this particular openings or spots that allow water to flow into their body. Then, what are the diagnostic features of the phylum Purifera, the most simplest form of animals? So, and the body cells of this Purifera are loosely arranged, and they have 2 layers. And the 2 layers are usually separated by what we call mesenchyme. Mesenchyme is the one that separates the 2 layers that are observed in the body of the Purifera. And we have numerous ostia, which we refer to as the spores, and they are found all over the body of the Purifera. There is a large opening And then this large opening is called ossiculum. It is found on the upper end of the purifera or sponges. Then there is a canal system that is present in the body of purifera. It is through this canal that water flows throughout the body, and it is the flow of the water that supplies the organism with food as well as oxygen. They also have endoskeleton, and this endoskeleton is made up of calcareous and siliceous specules and spongin fibers. That is the nature of the endoskeleton that is found in the sponges. Then we have several choanocyte-line spaces that are present in the sponges or the purifera. Where do we find them? That is where they live. We have said that they are found only in marine water, and we have some of them that are made up of spongin fiber that live in the fresh water. It is this spongin fiber that enable them to live successfully in fresh water. That is those that are found in fresh water. The majority of them are found in the marine habitats. The physical appearance, the morphology of purifera. Their body are in diverse forms, and they may appear in the different forms, which include encrusting sheet. They can appear like encrusting sheet. They can look like a volcano-shaped mount. They appear in tubes, or they could also appear in upright sheets, as you can see. By the right-hand side, that is a general morphology of a purifera. So you can see the different structure, and you see the opening that we call the ossiculum. So we have the spongin. We have the holdfast. It is the holdfast with which it attaches itself to the substratum, either rock or any hard object on which they attach themselves. These puriferans, they have a canal system, and it is from the canal system that water are being pumped. And the water will enter through the pores. Remember, we said they have pores all over their body, and those pores are called ostia. So when the water flows through all these canals to a spacious chamber, it is that chamber that we call spongocele in them. So the water will be pumped through them, and then the water will finally exit through the large opening called the ossiculum, as we can see. As we can see in the structure of the hydra that we just passed in the last slide. We can differentiate these sponges on the basis of their complexity that they exhibit in their bodies. So, and on that basis of that complexity, we have the following. One, ascon. And then the ascon is the simplest form that consists of a single tube, 2 cell layer thick in nature. And this particular group with this type of architecture are necessarily very small due to the surface area to volume constraint in them. That is the ascon as one of the type of the sponges that we have. The second type is cycon, and then this cycon, they are simple folding of the wall that yield sponges. Then we have the third one, the leucon, and the majority of sponges are organized in this particular type. So the leucon condition with fold upon fold, resulting in a series of flagellated chambers that are connected by different canals in them. The structures of sponges, they are simple in structure, and they have 2 ends. One end is attached to a solid structure such as a rock or any other substratum in their environment. And then the other end is called the ossiculum, and that one is the one that open to the environment. Sponges feed on microorganisms such as algae and bacteria. And they are able to feed on this microorganism through the openings that are found on them. And some sponges are carnivorous, that is, they feed on other animals. And they use their speckles to capture those small animals, particularly crustaceans. So the sponges are made of 4 simple and independent structures. So the first type of cells are the collar cells. The collar cells usually line the canals in the interior of the sponge. Then the flagella are attached to the ends of the cells, and they help pump water through the sponge's body. So the flagella is the one that beats about in the water, and then it helps or aids the sponge to pump water through their body. So the pumping water, they help bring oxygen and nutrients to the sponges. So when they pass through the different canals, then they carry oxygen along. So it is them that enable them to pump oxygen into the canal. Mr. Henry, please, what is happening? Through the pumping of water, they also remove waste and carbon dioxide in them. Please don't touch anything there. When I'm finished, I will see you. So the second cells are the porocytes. And then the porocytes are cells that make up the pores of the sponge. The epidermal cells form the skin on the outside of the sponge. Finally, there are what we call amorphocytes, which exist between the epidermal and the collar cells in an area that is called the mesohyp. So, and then the amorphocytes carry out functions of the sponges, and it is the one that transports nutrients in them. Then how do we classify the poriferan? We classify them to 3 classes. The Calcarea, an example is Siphon and Leucocelia. We have Exanthera, an example is Oplectella and Halomena. Then we have Demospongia, example is Spongilla and Cleonia. This is the picture of sponge. As you can see, you see, they are greenish. They could be in any type of color. See where they attach. So they attach themselves to the substratum. And then what are the features that enable them to live or adapt to their various environment? So they have some adaptive features, which include skeleton types. And it is these skeleton types that allow them to live in either hard or soft sediment on which they attach themselves. They have pore also. It is the pore that allow them to filter the water around them for food and nutrients. Then we have flagella. It is this one that creates current, which direct water and food into their body. We have strong structures in them. We have constricting opening that is found in them. We have colors also that is the one that protect them from the sun, ultraviolet rays of the sun. They have toxin, and then this can release toxin into the environment around them to make sure they have a good place to grow in, so that no any other organism can destroy them. Then they have body repair. Sponges are also able to repair damaged bodies. And then these characteristics of sponges are ideal because even small part of sponges will survive in the water. So this comes to the end of the class, and please we continue this animal kingdom in the next lecture. Thank you very much.